saying in the United States you actually operate under an English common law system.
Well, actually they did, but since 1933 there is no common law. The very reason we spoke of earlier, and that is it's impossible to pay, it's impossible to buy and sell. We operate totally under bankruptcy.
So is that to do with where the gold was taken away from the people?
Again, the gold was not taken from the people, the gold was taken from the citizens.
What's the difference then?
Well, I'm a people.
Right.
But a citizen is a fictional construct. Now, if you go back, for instance, into your era in the United States with the what they call the Civil War.
Right.
As a result of the Civil War came the 14th Amendment, supposedly for the benefit of those individuals who had been liberated as slaves. But it did not in fact liberate them, it enfranchised them, and also all the other people who would accept the benefit of a citizen, it enfranchised them. I was interested in one of your statues I saw yesterday. It was a statue of a lady who was responsible for the enfranchisement of women in England. And I thought, you know, I wonder if they really know what that means.
Could you explain to us what an enfranchisement means in terms of commerce?
Yes. What it does, it turns you into a corporate entity.
So that means that you and I are corporate entities right now?
No, you and I are not.
Okay.
But there has been a trust or a construct which is basically demonstrated with your Christian name written in all capital letters. So that demonstrates the enfranchisement. So basically all the people have accepted that enfranchisement. And I'm not saying that it's exactly a bad thing, but the improper use of the enfranchisement will cause you problems in commerce. So we are trying to teach people and demonstrate to them the proper way to function in commerce so that it does not cause a conflict with the real men and women. That's what we're trying to teach.
Right, so what would you say is an improper use?
Okay, the improper use of commerce is basically caused by ignorance of the procedures and so forth. And perhaps, I'm going to say perhaps because I don't want to imply certain things, but
it would appear?
It would appear that some of the powers that be have, of necessity to maintain their power position, have either kept the people in ignorance or given them misinformation. And so because of that problem, the people are not able to function correctly in commerce and make a lot of errors. And so that's been the reason why we have established educational seminars and so forth to better inform the people. And certainly we do not have all of the answers.
No.
We try to bring as many answers to the forefront as possible. And by doing that, we think that we're helping the people.
What would you typify as an error? I mean, you talked about people making errors. What could be an error in commerce?
The biggest error that people make is not seeing the mirror. What was that fellow's name here in England? Carroll, that had that book, Through the Looking Glass?
Oh, yes, Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, Lewis Carroll in Alice in Wonderland. Well, the problem, he demonstrated in that going through the looking glass and how difficult it was to come back out. Most of the people have gone into the looking glass and now they are actually in the mirror looking out, wondering what's the real world like. And so because of inability to work with the mirror image, they have a problem. For instance, when you stand in a mirror, when a normal man or woman stands in front of a mirror, they think that the mirror is their opposite, but it's not. Because when you stand in front of a mirror, if you wiggle your right hand... Mike.
Okay. Go for it. When you stand in front of a mirror.
When you stand in front of a mirror and wiggle your right hand, objectively, you think that the image in the mirror is wiggling its left. But if you'll take a magic marker and put a big X on your right hand and stand in front of the mirror and wiggle your right hand, you'll immediately recognize that the image is in fact wiggling its right hand. I learned this basically from a physicist, a man named Richard Feynman in the United States. He was one of the developers of the atomic bomb. But the mirror image is so important because he described it as, he said, if you can take a razor blade and cut off, one molecule thick of your skin and hold it out here, he says that's the mirror image. So the mirror image is actually yourself inside out. It is not the opposite. So anytime you think about a mirror image, you have to learn how to negotiate with that mirror image. So in commerce, there has been established a mirror image in the form of what's called a straw man.
Is that the same as a legal fiction?
That's the legal fiction. That is your name in all capital letters. And so people, because again, they don't realize that the mirror image is not the opposite, it's just themselves inside out, they don't know how to negotiate with the mirror image.
So far with Winston, we've found out where this movement started in the United States. We've also discovered how that's practically applicable here in the United Kingdom or any other civilized country. What's important to look into perhaps is what debt servicing is and what banking is. We also need to understand what's happening with Basel III and the fact that we ourselves have a straw man or a party that we can use in front of us to navigate through commerce. So Winston, moving through commerce is quite an interesting field, and you're a student of this, and I've heard you say in other interviews that you're by no means perfect in this, that you're constantly learning. What would you say to people who are looking to embark upon a journey in commerce? Where should they start off?
I think perhaps the first thing is to come to a realization of who and what they are. All these commercial things have emanated from a real being, a living, breathing, sentient being. And so the first consideration to dealing in commerce, which is a fiction, is to first come to grips with who and what you are, and then you can work from there.
Can you expand on what you're meaning by who and what we are?
The source of all wealth is in the people. Only people are capable of laboring to produce from raw materials useful things. Now, when they want to exchange those things with others, then they have created a device to do so, which is known as commerce. And so, in order to understand commerce, you first have to understand that the source of all wealth is the people, and they are the principal creditors of all commerce to whom interest accrues. And so to complete the circle, then everything has to come back to the man for a resolution.
So does that mean that as a man myself, I should expect that as a principal, I should be then receiving the proceeds of interest?
Correct.
But I'm not getting that at the moment, am I?
You may or may not be.
Well, I can say I'm not.
Okay, you're not then. And a lot of times people look at that, from the standpoint of dollars and cents or pounds and shillings or whatever you call them here.
Pounds and pence.
But most of those things are basically returned in the form of benefit privileges, which are very valuable to the people. But the main problem in commerce that people are having with the benefit privileges is they do not know how to adjust the accounts so that there is equity in commerce.
Now, the concept of a benefit privilege, I think, is an important one to drill down on for those who don't understand what a benefit privilege is. Could you give me an example of a benefit privilege?